Okay, let's just be honest for a second. If you've been paying any attention to the headlines about AI in healthcare for, say, the last 5 years, you probably have a serious case of what I'd call hype fatigue.
Oh, absolutely. The AI cures cancer headline that seems to drop every other Tuesday.
Exactly. We've heard the promises, we've seen the demos, and yet drug development is still slow, it's still incredibly expensive, and, it's still so prone to failure. It just feels like vaporware.
It's the classic boy who cried wolf, but the wolf was a neural network.
Right. But I have to say, looking at the stack of reports we have here for today, market analyses, projections, papers, all focused on 2026. The whole tone has shifted. They're not talking about future potential anymore. The argument now is that 2026 is a hard inflection point.
And the premise is, if you aren't integrating this tech right now, you're not just missing an opportunity, you're becoming obsolete.
Operationally obsolete, that's the phrase they use. And I guess the numbers back that up.
They do. The projections we're looking at estimate that AI is unlocking somewhere between $60 and $110 billion in annual value.
That number just sounds insane. It feels like a consultant's fantasy.
Yeah.
So I think our mission for this deep dive has to be figuring out where that money is actually coming from.
Yes. We need to get specific. How does it work? Why is 2026 different from, say, 2023?
Deal. So let's start with the buzzword that's all over these reports, agentic AI. Now, we've had AI for a while, right? Chatbots, generative text. How is an agent any different?
It's a fundamental change in architecture. The AI we all got used to in the early 2020s was what you'd call insight-based.
A passive tool.
Exactly. You give it data, you ask it a question, and it gives you a summary. It was a really, really smart encyclopedia, but it waited for you to turn the page.
So what's an agent then?
An agent is an action engine. It has something we call bounded autonomy.
Bounded autonomy. Okay, break that down for us.
Think of it like an intern versus a senior colleague. You tell an intern to do a task, they do it, they come back, and they wait for the next instruction.
That's your chatbot.
That's your chatbot. An agent is the senior colleague. It has a goal, let's say, optimize the supply chain for this chemical. It monitors data 24/7. It sees a shortage is likely in 3 weeks. It finds an alternative supplier, places the order, and updates the schedule.
And it does all that without a human hitting okay.
Within the bounds the human set, yes. It alerts you, but it doesn't wait for permission. It's the difference between human in the loop, where you have to click the button, and human on the loop, where you're just supervising the whole process.
I can see how that works for logistics. That's math. But for actual science, are you telling me these agents are doing R&D?
They're acting as scientific collaborators. The sheer volume of data in drug discovery, I mean, we're talking about multi-omics data.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, that's basically every kind of biological data layered on top of itself, right? Genetics, proteins.
Yes, the full picture. It's just too much for a human brain to cross-reference. So an agent can scan that data, identify a potential drug target, and this is the kicker, it can autonomously tell a robotic wet lab to go run a validation experiment on its own.
So wait, the AI has a hypothesis, and it orders a robot to go test it while the human scientists are sleeping.
Precisely. It's doing the grunt work. And we're seeing this on the commercial side, too, with next best action models.
Right.
A sales rep isn't just guessing who to call. The AI analyzes a doctor's prescribing patterns and tells the rep, call Dr. Smith on Tuesday about this specific clinical trial data. It's orchestrating the whole strategy.
Okay, it sounds efficient, but let's play devil's advocate. We have heard about speed for decades, and yet it still takes, 12 years to get a drug to market? Why is 2026 really any different?
Because it's not just about compressing the timeline anymore. The real change, the variable that actually matters, is the success rate. Historically, drug development is a game of failure, a lottery ticket. You start with 10,000 molecules to get one approved drug.
And the worst failures are the ones that happen late, in phase 2 or phase 3, after you've spent hundreds of millions of dollars.
Correct. That's the nightmare. But look at the data now. For AI-designed drugs entering phase 1 trials, success rates have jumped from, a coin flip of 40–60% up to 80 or 90%.
That can't be right. That's a huge jump. How is that possible?
It's possible because the AI is failing in silico first, in the computer.
Okay.
Runs thousands of simulations on toxicity, on solubility, on how the molecule binds. By the time you actually make the physical drug, you have extremely high confidence it's going to work because you've already failed 10,000 times in the simulation.
High confidence is one thing, but do we have actual proof? Is there a drug on the market right now that shows this works in people?
We do. And we have to talk about rentasertib. This is the drug everyone is watching. It's from a company called In Silico Medicine for Idiopathic Pulmonary Fibrosis, IPF.
That's a really nasty lung disease, right? Scarring of the lungs.
Brutal, progressive, very few options. What makes Rentosartib so important is that it's the first true end-to-end AI discovery. The AI found the biological target and it designed the molecule.
So it didn't just find a key for a lock someone else found. It found the lock and then 3D printed the key.
That's a perfect analogy. And it did it fast. Target ID to a preclinical candidate took just 18 months. Usually that's a 4 or 5 year process.
Okay, fast is good, but did it work?
That is the real headline. They published phase IO results. They measured forced vital capacity, FVC, which is a standard measure of lung health.
Right.
In the placebo group, lung function declined, which is what you expect. The disease gets worse.
Sure.
In the group on the highest dose of Rentosartib, their lung function improved by almost 100 milliliters.
Wait, improved, not just a slower decline. They actually got better.
They regained lung function. That's the aha moment. It's clinical validation that the AI understood the biology better than we did. It engineered a solution that actually worked in a human body.
Wow. Okay.
Uh,
That is hard to argue with.
And that came after an earlier signal with baricitinib for COVID-19.
Right. That was the arthritis drug.
An AI system scanned all this data and in 48 hours flagged it as a potential COVID treatment. And it worked. It reduced mortality by 38%. It saw a connection between arthritis pathways and viral inflammation that a human specialist might have missed.
Okay, so the lab has changed, but the report moves from there to something called Pharma 4.0. This takes us out of the lab, right, onto the factory floor.
Yes, this is where the rubber meets the road.
Hmm.
Because you can design a miracle drug in 18 months, but if your manufacturing is stuck in the 1990s, you just have a bottleneck.
So Pharma 4.0, that starts with digital twins. I've heard that term before.
It's a virtual replica of your entire factory, every pipe, every sensor. Before you change a setting on the real line, you run it in the simulation. You can see if increasing pressure in tank A will blow a valve in tank B.
So you crash the plane in the simulator so you don't crash it in real life.
Exactly, and it goes beyond that to what they're calling lights-out manufacturing.
Sounds a little spooky.
It sounds spooky, but it's actually about being clean. The biggest source of contamination in a clean room is us, the humans.
We're dirty.
Biologically speaking, yes. A lights-out factory is fully automated. Robots handle everything from synthesis to packaging. They don't need light, they don't sleep, they just run 24/7.
The efficiency gains must be enormous.
Massive. And what's interesting is manufacturing is actually the fastest proof of value for AI. Predicting a pump failure 3 days before it happens saves you money today. The reports say Gen AI in operations is already generating $4 to $7 billion annually.
It's the unsexy stuff that pays the bills.
It's what funds all the fleshy discovery work, yes.
So speaking of paying the bills, let's follow the money. The overall market is exploding, but I'm more interested in the type of deals that are happening.
Deal structure has completely changed. The old model was asset-based. Big Pharma would find a small biotech and say, you have one cool molecule. We'll buy that one molecule.
Transactional. You're just buying the golden egg.
Right. Now we're seeing these massive platform deals. They aren't buying the egg anymore. They're buying the goose.
Give me an example.
Look at the partnership between Eli Lilly and NVIDIA. That's a billion-dollar investment. They're not just buying software, they're building a co-innovation lab.
And they're using NVIDIA's BioNeMo platform.
Which is basically a large language model, like a GPT. But instead of being trained on the internet, it's trained on protein structures and DNA sequences. It speaks the language of biology.
And they're running it on specialized hardware, these Vera Rubin AI chips.
That detail matters. It tells you that Big Pharma is realizing they have to become tech companies. They are investing in the deep infrastructure because they know if you own the platform, you don't just own one drug, you own the entire future pipeline.
It's this marriage of Silicon Valley and Big Pharma, but that's a culture clash, isn't it? Silicon Valley's motto is move fast and break things. In pharma, if you break things, people die.
That is the fundamental tension. And it brings us to the elephant in the room, regulation.
Right. Is the FDA just freaking out? I'd assume they're years behind and throwing up roadblocks everywhere.
That's the myth. But the reality is they've been surprisingly proactive. They realize they can't be the bottleneck. Back in late 2025, they officially qualified a tool called AIM-NASH.
What does that mean, qualified?
It's an AI tool for a specific liver disease. And by qualifying it, the FDA essentially said, we trust the data this AI generates. We consider it to be regulatory-grade evidence. That's a huge green light for the entire industry.
And what about the FDA Modernization Act 2.0? That's about animal testing, right?
This is one of the biggest shifts. The Act allows for alternatives to animal testing. We're moving toward in silico testing.
Computer simulations instead of lab rats.
Yes. And it's not just about animal welfare, which is a huge benefit. It's better science. A mouse is not a tiny human. An in silico model of human biology is often a much better predictor of how a drug will actually behave.
So it's more ethical and more accurate. Seems like a win-win.
It is. But there's always a but. This only works if your data is pristine. Garbage in, garbage out.
Data quality is the big risk.
Absolutely. If your data is messy or biased, your billion-dollar AI is going to hallucinate. You need what they call regulatory-grade AI. You have to be able to ask it, why did you pick this molecule? And get an answer an auditor can actually verify.
The black box problem. You can't have a black box making life or death decisions.
No, you can't. Explainability is everything. Which brings us to the other crisis, the skills gap.
Right. The reports say 70% of hiring managers can't find the people they need. Are they just looking for more coders?
No, and that's the issue. You hire a brilliant coder, they don't understand biology. You hire a brilliant biologist, they don't understand neural networks. The industry needs AI translators.
People who are bilingual.
Exactly. People who can speak both code and biology. And that Venn diagram is very, very small right now. So companies are pivoting to reskilling their own people. It's easier to teach a biologist data science than to teach a data scientist a decade of biology.
That's actually pretty encouraging for anyone listening who's in the field. The robots aren't here to take your job, just to massively change your job description.
It's a rapid evolution, not a replacement. But you have to learn the new tools.
So let's try and pull this all together. We've gone from 12-year timelines down to maybe 3. We've gone from passive insight engines to action agents that are running labs and factories.
And the FDA is paving the way for computer-simulated trials. And the so what, for you, for the patient, is personalized medicine.
How so?
Well, when drug development is so expensive and risky, companies have to chase blockbusters. Drugs for millions of people. They can't afford to develop a drug for a rare disease that only affects 5,000 people.
The economics just don't work.
But if AI drops the cost and time by 70 or 80%, suddenly those rare diseases become viable targets. Designing a cancer drug for your specific genetic mutation becomes possible.
That really is a hopeful future. It almost makes the hype feel worth it. But we always end with a final provocative thought, something to chew on.
Okay, well, here's one. We've been calling the AI a scientific collaborator. It can reason. It can plan experiments. It can analyze results. If the AI is generating the hypothesis and doing the physical testing, what is the role of the human scientist?
You mean their day-to-day job?
Deeper than that. What's their identity? For centuries, a scientist was someone who did the science. They pipetted, they observed. If the AI is doing the doing, are humans becoming process architects?
We become the conductors, not the musicians.
Exactly. We orchestrate the intelligence. We don't generate it from scratch.
Yeah.
And the real question is, are we ready for that?
Yeah.
Are we ready to trust a non-human intelligence to understand our own biology better than we do?
From doer to orchestrator, that is a fundamental change in what it means to discover something. Thank you for that. And thank you to everyone for listening to this deep dive. The future of pharma is, well, it's a lot closer than you think.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you on the next deep dive. Stay curious.